Hello there, and welcome to The Best Worst. It's a celebration of the best and the worst of the television we love.
Hi, I'm Meg Bashwinner.
And me, I'm Joseph Fink.
And we love TV. So we created this show to explore what we all love about popular TV shows by watching both the IMDb viewer best rated and worst rated episodes of a quintessential series.
And how good are we at getting at saying IMDb viewer best rated and worst rated episodes? A difficult phrase to say.
That also, I was trying to do that in the syntax of Jessica Fletcher.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Angela Lansbury has a sort of an interesting way that she...
Yeah. It's because she's, I think it said she's British American, so I think she maybe spent time in both places.
She
has
did.
kind of a middle accent, mid-Atlantic, you might say.
Yeah, she's just from the middle of the Atlantic. Her and the Titanic.
All right, so we're doing this because we want to make a podcast. Each of these shows we cover have 100 episodes, and we don't do series finales because those tend to be the best, although not in this case. Let's get to today's show.
Not in this case, because every episode is the best.
Because Meg really liked this one. Meg is all in, having never seen it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Meg, what are we watching today?
So today's show is Murder, She Wrote, which ran.
Yeah, that's
Today's
from
show,
me.
which ran for 12 seasons from 1984 to 1996 with 264 episodes.
264 beautiful episodes. So tell me about your background with the show.
Obviously, I'm aware of the existence of Murder, She Wrote, as it was, it was a huge show when we were growing up, and it was often on in syndication. However, I had never watched an episode of it, mostly because I felt like it wasn't for me, because I was a child at the time. The show really is not angled towards children at all in the way that some other shows are, that even if they are made for adults, they seem fine for children, like a Roseanne or like even in a Law and Order. But
yeah, the famous children's show.
The famous children's show, Law and Order. But this Murder, She Wrote just never entered my world until this moment. Obviously, I knew the premise of it, but I always thought of it was kind of like a show for old ladies.
And it was, because I watched, I think, a good amount of Murder, She Wrote, and I did it because my grandma Betty was a big Murder, She Wrote fan. She watched that. She watched Texas Walker
Texas Ranger.
Walker Texas Ranger. Got it. Got those words in some order. And Touched by an Angel were kind of the three she really liked to watch.
Classic. Your grandma's watching TV
Yeah,
shows.
I'm excited to cover some Touched by an Angel at some point. But classic, very Christian TV show.
Yeah, we used
that
to call
my Jewish grandmother liked.
We used to call it Touched by an Uncle. So
yeah. So I haven't watched it since, but I had very fond memories of Murder, She Wrote. I remembered it being fun to watch, and I was correct about that.
Yeah, my expectations going into it, I was like, oh, this is going to suck. This is going to be very...
But you're always I don't want to watch the show.
And it's going to be very dated, and it's going to be... It was great. And maybe it's just because I'm coming into this at a point in my life where I'm a more mature woman.
We both just turned 40 this week.
So... I am finally old enough for Murder, She Wrote, and gosh, I'm happy to be here. Watching the show, I was just I can't wait to get older, because Angela Lansbury makes it look so freaking cool to be a woman completely devoid of estrogen who does not give a fuck, who is finally free of the male gaze so she can solve crimes. I just as a woman, it was a show that I was watching wherein she knew better than every fucking purported expert on the show. She knew better than all the cops. She knew better than all the investigators. She just she had a curiosity and eye for detail that made her, and a brain for criminology, a very studied brain for criminology that just made her excellent at this, despite being a woman who is past her...
A woman.
Who has had her last fuckable day, to quote the Amy Schumer show. And it was just, gosh, it was so refreshing. Gosh, I can't wait to get old.
Well, it's coming for you. We hope.
Just cannot wait until I don't have to give a single fuck anymore. I guess no one ever has to give a single fuck, but Angela Lansbury makes it look so damn good.
All right. So let's get into the worst, which is going to feature almost no Angela Lansbury, which is probably why it's the worst. What is the worst episode?
The worst episode is season 7, episode 18, Where Have You Gone, Billy Boy? And I will admit, this was a tough pill to swallow as far as this is my first introduction to the show. However, I was not put off by it. Even the fact that she wasn't even really in the show so much. So this was like sort of what season this was?
This was season 7.
Season 7. So we're getting towards like the middle time of the show. I think it was, I have to look and see exactly when, but throughout the course of production of this show, Angela Lansbury was like, this show's a lot for me.
Oh, I know the details. So in season 5,
season 5. Okay, yes.
They expanded how long it took them to. They went from 7 days per episode to 8 days.
To 8 days per episode.
And she was also starting to hit her mid kind of early to mid 60s and was like, guys, I don't want to do this. And she was like, I'm going to retire. And, you know, she's the star of this hit TV show. They don't want her to retire. And so they did 2 things. They made her, I think, an executive producer on the show. She got to have a little more behind the scenes control as like the carrot on that side. But the other thing they did is they're like, hey, listen, you only have to do like half the episodes, and the other half will be what we'll call bookend episodes, where it is another detective telling their story to you. And so starting in season 6, there were a number of these bookend ones where she was just at the beginning and sometimes the end. And then all of the rest of it was a different detective. In season 6, these were all different detectives every single time. However, the detective for this one, whose name I am currently blanking on.
Is it Dennis Stanton?
Dennis Stanton, that is correct. He was, I think, pretty quickly a favorite. And I can see why. We'll get to it, but I do think this guy is both, as a character, a really interesting detective, and as a performer, a very charismatic, fun performer. And so starting in season 7, all of the bookend detectives were this guy.
Yes.
So
he's played by Keith Michael, and he was great. And we'll talk more about the reasons why he was so wonderful. And the stuff that didn't work for me in the episode was the stuff that he wasn't in. The stuff that is like the actual crime. But as soon as he gets like So we start out the episode where it's the like bookendy thing. So he's on the couch with Angela Lansbury. She's having tea and he's telling her the story of Billy Boy. And then we are transported to San Francisco where the story is taking place. And there is a ventriloquist in a club doing his comedy ventriloquist act, which goes on for, frankly, way too fucking long.
Now, this is one thing about Murder, She Wrote. It is so leisurely paced. Things that in modern TV now would be like, I don't know, 3 to half a second long establishing shots. They will go for like minutes.
We'll take a 30-second establishing shot of someone like a bus pulling away. That happens in that. But like there's in the best episode, we're establishing that the bus is pulling away, and we see the bus driver walk up to the bus.
Well, we see him load the luggage.
Close the door. We see him close the luggage, the stowage compartment, climb up the steps into the bus. They show us his ass. And
thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. And then we see him sit down, we see him get situated, and we see him close the bus door, and then we see a shot of the bus driving away. Like, my goodness, guys. We could have just...
So this was true across all of Murder, She Wrote we watched. It is so leisurely paced, and it takes a lot of time with establishing
which is
shots.
One of the reasons makes it good. It's relaxing. It's not this like high paced, constant, like it's easy breezy. We're taking our time with shit. We're letting it like, this is the kind of shit they should be doing nowadays because they have the like, everyone is on their phone. So like everyone should be just shooting like Murder, She Wrote to keep people's attention and keep them into the story because they're going so slowly with it that it's impossible for you to miss anything.
I mean, there's that whole thing about like slow television, like watching people shear a sheep and then in real time make a sweater from the wool. I feel like this was the slow television of mystery things. Yes. Like it was about just kind of relaxing and being there.
And like, you're not going to, like you at home trying to solve the mystery, you're not going to miss a single ding dang beat because they're going to show it to you. So yeah, so this is the comedian in the club. He's doing very well. Everyone is super into him. He has like a bimbo girlfriend who's in his act who wants more of the act.
In Murder, She Wrote, we noticed there are 2 kinds of women, Jessica Fletcher and bimbos.
Which, great. Like, we need more work for bimbos and we need more work for Jessica Fletcher. They're my 2 favorite types of women. So what do we... This sort of savant ventriloquist, he's like his special interest is the ventriloquist.
Oh, yeah. He is not, I would say, neurotypical.
So he has the bimbo girlfriend and he has a manager, both of which want more for him in his career. They see his talent. They see it like they want to climb right on those coattails and ride it all the way to Vegas. He gets his offer from a comedian in Vegas to open for him. And so, but he still has 7 months left on his contract with Kate Kelly, the woman who owns the comedy club, who's who's a stone cold bitch. I guess that's another type of woman who I also love. So she's a stone cold bitch, and she's like, I'm not gonna let you out of your contract. I'm a fucking stone cold bitch. And it's shown more so that she's a stone cold bitch when we see her interacting with the manager of the club, and then another comedian who she has booted from the club for being an alcoholic, who's also the one she booted is in a relationship with the manager of the club. We realize Kate Kelly, the comedy club stone cold bitch, ends up fucking dead on the floor, locked in the basement.
Well, you missed the reason that our detective has come in. So let's introduce our detective, because I think he's very interesting. I love when you're writing a detective story. So we worked on this show called Unlicensed. It's really fun to write a detective story. You got to find an interesting in. With Murder, She Wrote, she's a mystery writer who keeps stumbling on mysteries. Great.
It was the combination of Agatha Christie and Miss Marple was the idea. It was like, let's combine the menopausal lady detective with Agatha Christie and see what happens.
Right. So this guy is a former master jewel thief, notorious jewel thief, who is now on the straight and narrow and working as an insurance investigator. But no one trusts him, including his boss, because he used to be a jewel thief. Except for he is he's in it. He's just trying to do what's right and investigate the thing. So you got this great thing where he has a lot of knowledge of crime, and he keeps a lockpick kit in his umbrella, and no one trusts him. All the cops don't trust him because they know who he is, but he's very earnestly trying to solve the case. I think he's great. I think he's a great idea for a detective.
Super great. He could have spun off on his own. In a way, he kind of did, because they gave him all the episodes in season 7 that were the bookend ones. But great character work. So the ventriloquist dummy has gone missing. So it gets reported to the insurance. He comes out and he's like, listen, did you look for it? Yeah, we looked for it. We can't find it.
You've insured it for $10,000. We'll pay you $10,000.
We'll pay you the $10,000. But he also is a little curious about what's going on here. So he goes back to the office, and he has an assistant at the office who needs more in life to do, and he feels like she's not getting enough. So he takes her with him because he gets a phone call from someone in the voice of the ventriloquist dummy being like, look in the basement of the comedy club in a trunk. That's where I am.
Well, also, there's only one person who can do the dummy's voice, and it's the ventriloquist. And sure enough, yes, that is who made the phone call. It's not that much of a mystery. There's only one guy who sounds like that.
So they get there. The door's locked. He picks the lock with his special umbrella lockpick. They get down there. They find the dummy. While they find the dummy, the assistant finds the comedy club lady with her head bashed in, who was laying on the ground dead, although her mouth does move.
Yeah, you noticed that. She did not play dead great. So obviously, suspicion is immediately on the ventriloquist, who was feuding with the comedy club owner, and also pretty clearly was the one who called and told the insurance inspector to go down there. Also, the comedian who was fired reports having seen him run out of the club at the time of the murder. And so the police arrest him. We then get the manager is acting pretty suspicious. He's kind of living it up with his girlfriend now that she can hang out at the club again, and they're doing auditions. And so it's a little suspicious. There's also the ventriloquist's manager is feuding with the bimbo. The bimbo is going to leave the ventriloquist because she finds out that he got dropped from the Vegas gig.
The bimbo gets a 5-minute monologue, it was pretty load bearing for a bimbo role, I found.
A bimbombalog.
A bimbombalog. Yes. But so we find out that it was the alcoholic comedian and the manager who were in cahoots to get. So it's found out that it was them who ended up doing it based on a lock and key situation, who had a copy of the key to get in and how.
Yeah, there was only one key. It belonged to the comedy club owner, but since the basement was locked, the murderer must have taken it to lock the basement. And so the insurance investigator comes up with a little ruse to get someone to unlock the door, and the person who unlocks it is, surprise, the most obvious culprit. Listen, Murder, She Wrote, not huge on surprises.
Yeah, when we were putting our chips down mid-episode being who did it? I was like, well, I think the drunk comedian lady and the manager, that's got to be a red herring, right? It was not. It was not. It turns out that the ventriloquist guy didn't want to go to Vegas, so he hid the puppet, but then when he found out that a new puppet was going to be made for him with the insurance money. He was like, no, that's my guy. Let's find it. It's all just a very sad puppet man.
Who just, he's like so neurodivergent that he like can only talk to people through his puppet. He like, that's how he communicates with the world. He's like communicating with the police through the puppet, and they're being mean to him about it. And the insurance investigator has to be like, listen, this is just how he talks.
Yeah, the insurance investigator they're like, he won't talk. And they're like, the insurance investigator is like, I have an idea how to get him to talk. Just need to talk to the fucking puppet and he'll do it. And the insurance investigator was right. And that's what happens in the worst episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Is a good time.
A good time. Lots of pretty on-location shooting in San Francisco.
In general, a very on-location show, which is interesting. For the Middle East, we go to Seattle, which is, again, completely on location. And we get a lot of great location shooting in San Francisco. It looks great.
They kind of have to go on location for Murder, She Wrote because of the Murder, She Wrote problem of that she lives in a small town in Maine. And in order for there to be a murder in each episode, there would have to be a murder in Maine every time in her small town. So they have to travel all over the world. Just 54 episodes out of the total 264 take place in Cabot Cove. They did film a lot of this in Los Angeles. I think was at Universal. I have to check on that. But yeah, they filmed it.
Yeah, I assume all the comedy club interiors and stuff.
Yeah, they filmed a lot of it in California, but they did travel a bit to get other locations for this. They go all around the world with it, because if not, then Cabot Cove, Michigan is just the murder capital of the whole world. Maine is just the murder capital of the whole world.
Which they do make jokes about, because people have done the math, and based on Cabot Cove's population, it has a murder rate that is significantly higher than any other city in the country. Which they even start making meta jokes about in the show, about like, we have a very violent town here.
Yeah. Yes. It would be the FBI's national crime statistics in numerous categories would be at the top of.
Let's talk about Keith Mitchell, who plays Dennis Stanton, our detective. An incredibly charming performer, really charismatic. Yet another, he's like an older guy, so we're keeping this like older person detective, but a kind of different style. He's a little more funny and suave. He's got like a little bit of that James Bond thing, because he's got the kind of danger of the jewel thief.
He's a reformed thief.
And I mean, as I said, I think the concept for the detective is great. I also think the performance was great. I think he was a lot of fun to watch.
So she actually became EP in 92 after they were done with all these bookending episodes. I guess she found herself revitalized for it, or maybe she was feeling like a kind of a way about it, being like, I took a step back, but this is my show, so I'm going to step back forward. So yeah, so she came on as EP in 92.
Interesting. The woman who plays the bitch comedy club owner is Georgia Brown, who... This is the second time she's been the featured guest star in a worst episode. In our very first episode of this podcast on Cheers, she played Madame Lazora in
Madame LaCarla, the worst episode of Cheers.
Yeah, so it's great to see Georgia Brown again. I don't know why she keeps
it's
appearing.
It's not her problem. She's not making it. Episodes. She's not the problem.
I mean, no one is the problem. This is just the worst rated because Jessica Fletcher's not in it. I'm willing to bet all of the non-ones with her are at the bottom. And then this is, I think in general, fans liked Dennis Stanton pretty good. This was his last one. This was the last one they did with him. And I feel like maybe people are getting a little tired of him at this point is maybe why it's a little lower. His first appearance was the highest rated of his appearances.
I will say that just as people hate women, they hate ventriloquists. So,
and that on that case, it is completely fair and correct.
The ventriloquist and the comedy club bit stuff really is very thin and really doesn't work and is cringy and bad. And that's like a third of this episode. So, all of the detective stuff is good. Yeah, but
I'm just going to take 1 second to learn more about Keith Mitchell. Australian, born in Adelaide, but did spend most of his life in Britain. Extensive Shakespearean actor.
You can tell.
Nominated for BAFTAs. But he grew up in Australia.
This is like one of the things that I love about the TV of this time is that the actors who are like mature in their careers at this point have had no choice than to come from radio and theater, because there wasn't the existence of television when they were up and coming. So I do love that we get a lot of these like dyed-in-the-wool stage performers, people who've done radio plays, like, and also while we're watching this, it is like a little bit of for us, it's like a reunion show for this epic period of television. We get to the best episode. There's Rue McClanahan is in it. The Tom Bosley, who plays Mr. Cunningham, is in it. So like and Tom Bosley was a regular on the show. He's recurring. So like we have these just like cast of players that we're seeing come back, and it's really fun. It's really cool. There's a lot of crossover. There was a lot of TV shows on, but there was a lot of crossover in performances, and people had like long careers in theater. Like you look at Tom Bosley, like in TV, you look at Tom Bosley, and he was like working on a show. Like he would do multiple shows a year after he stopped being Mr. Cunningham. Before he was just constantly working. So,
and also with Murder, She Wrote, we'll hear when I get to the writers and directors, a really common refrain, possibly on every single one of them, is that Murder, She Wrote was their final show. A lot of the people behind the camera were also older and had very long careers that predated television. So this was being made by people in front of and behind the camera who, like, this was the end of very long careers in this industry.
I like the look of this show. I like the art direction of it. I think it's really well done. I really like the aesthetic choices of it. It makes it comforting to watch because the aesthetic choices are beautiful and the cinematography is really good. The art direction is good. Every like place feels like a place in a really detailed way, in a way that like you don't necessarily see in comedies of its time, just because there's not this is done in a sound studio. This is done on a set or on location, whereas in front of a studio audience is kind of limited with what it can do set wise. Whereas this one, there's a little bit more room. So that the spaces that they're in feel really fleshed out.
Yeah, I had that thought in this one when looking at like Dennis Stanton's office because pre-HD TV, a lot of times TV sets were pretty bare minimum because they're just not going to be seen with that much detail. But there was like a lot going on. There was like interesting art on the walls. There was like fancy potted plants. Like, it wasn't, maybe they probably would have gotten a lot harder in the era of HD TV, but there still was like a lot of thought.
The basement of that comedy club, come on. Like that was so well done. I will say Mary Dodson was the art director for 102 of the episodes, and she received 3 Emmy nominations for her work on Murder, She Wrote.
At the beginning, we see a Winchell's No Nuts in San Francisco. It always makes me happy to see the hometown chain. If you're not from California, Winchell's Donuts all over the place here. At one point, the ventriloquist manager says that he's had to be a Dutch uncle.
Which we had to look up, and we also had to differentiate it from Dutch Rudder.
Yeah, which we also had to look up because we weren't sure what a Dutch Rudder was.
I was confusing it with The Stranger.
A Dutch uncle is just giving someone kind of brusque, stern advice. Oh, and they keep talking about how the ventriloquist is going to go to the gas chamber. When she were like, in 1991, the gas chamber? And so I did an investigation. Whether the ventriloquist would have gone to a gas station investigation.
And would they put the dummy in there with him?
Yeah. By Joseph Fink. Age 40. Here we go. So California stopped using the gas chamber. It was their main form of execution for a lot of the first half of the 20th century. The last time someone was killed in a gas chamber in California was 1962. So no, at this point in 1991, no one's being sent to the gas chamber. I think maybe a gas chamber still exists, but they're not using it. Now, the second question, would he have been executed at all? And the answer to that one is also no, because so the California State Supreme Court in like the early 70s struck down the death penalty in California. And then because California is secretly a pretty conservative state, people who don't live here don't know that, but because of the proposition system, I mean, we had the whole ban on gay marriage proposition when I was a teenager. Like the conservative propositions do pass here. And so a proposition that brought back the death penalty passed in the mid 70s. However, it still just wasn't done. No one was executed in California from the passing of that proposition until the mid 90s. And then I think only 13 people were executed between the mid 90s and 2004. And then even though technically it's still on the books, no one has been executed in California since 2004. So since the early 70s, only 13 people in the state of California have been executed. So no, the ventriloquist would not have gone to the gas chamber. Would they have sent the dummy in there with him? Of course.
Yes.
You got to kill the dummy too. All right. So this was written by one of the creators. There's 3 people credited for creating the show, and this is one of them, Peter S. Fisher, classic TV Jew from Queens. He worked jobs editing trade publications and doing direct mail campaigns. So just completely kind of unglamorous work outside of Hollywood. And then at 34, he sold a script for a TV movie called The Last Child, which is a dystopian sci-fi about an America where everyone is only allowed to have one child and a couple who dares to have a second one. He parlayed that into jobs writing on TV. He wrote for Kojak, Columbo, a bunch of shows I've never heard of, like Marcus Welby, MD, Griff, and Macmillan and Wife.
I've heard of Macmillan and Wife.
Okay, and Once an Eagle. These all, by the way, are successful shows. These are not like one-season shows. He co-created Murder, She Wrote. It was his last TV job. He married his wife at the age of 22, and they were married for 60 years until her death, and then he died in a care home 6 years later. His IMDb is also how I learned that there is a Murder, She Wrote. I thought it was a remake. You say it's a movie?
It's a movie, I believe.
Starring Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, that's coming out it's slated right now to come out in the winter of 28.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times these things get listed on IMDb and then just never happen. So I don't know where it's at in development.
I think they said they were going to start shooting it.
Okay. There you go. I'm excited to see. It should be a TV series, but what are we going to do?
Until the grip trucks roll up, it doesn't count.
It was directed by John Llewellyn Moxey. Born in Argentina, raised in Britain, he served in the British Army during World War II, and an inordinate number of people who worked on the show fought in World War II. Got his start soon after the war as a third assistant director. Then about 10 years later, he moved up to director for a TV show called The Adventures of Tugboat Annie, which was about a heroic tugboat captain in the Pacific Northwest competing against a rival tugboat captain named Horatio Bullwinkle. John directed regularly throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He has 106 credits to his name. Once again, Murder, She Wrote was his last job. That's going to be true of almost, I think, everyone we talk about. He died at 94 in a suburb of Seattle.
Yeah, I will say that, a lot of people worked on this for a long time because it was 12 seasons.
12 seasons.
Yeah.
And we learned from the Amazon Prime page that Angela Lansbury was nominated all 12 seasons.
She was nominated 12 times, never won.
Never won. All told, she was nominated for 18 Emmys during her career and did not win a single one of them.
I will say that she is a very decorated actor of our time, though. She has, 5 Tonys. She's had Lifetime Achievement Awards from... She's won Golden Globes. She's had BAFTAs. She had a really interesting
Golden
career
Globes for this show
because she kind of started out in the studio system with MGM.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing, so she was nominated, she should be an EGOT, but she was nominated for Emmy, Grammy, and Oscar and did not win any of those. But I was like, when do you think her first Oscar nomination was? And you were guessing late 60s. Her first Oscar nomination was 1940, I think, 4.
For Gaslight. Yeah.
Like, she worked so long. She had two Oscar nominations in the 40s, and then, was winning Golden Globes in the 90s.
And has won a number of Tonys.
Yeah, she won for Mame, she won for Gypsy, she won for Sweeney Todd.
Blithe Spirit, and then Little Night Music?
No, Little Night Music, she was nominated, but did not win. We the two of us saw her. It was her final stage role. I think maybe her final role of any kind in 2010. She did a Broadway revival of Little Night Music that you and I saw. And during the intermission, I peed at the urinal next to Patrick Stewart, which was a big moment for me.
But how big was it?
I did not look.
Angela Lansbury, she's a dame, and there's nothing like a dame. And she died in 2022. So we saw her in 2010. She was still kicking for 12 years.
I don't think she was working, though.
No, there was talk about a reboot in 2015, or her being in one of the movies, because there was several movies that were done after this in 2015. And she was like, I don't want to show this character that old. She's like, I'm still pretty vivacious. I garden all the time. I'm out there doing it, but I don't have the same vivacity that I had when I was, full on Jessica Fletcher. So yeah. So she but she still she did all right. How old was she when she died? She was
88. Is that right? Angela Lansbury.
No, 96.
96.
96.
Ooh.
A lot of these people put up some good numbers.
It just seems to be a thing now. She is not a TV Jew, but a thing we've noticed with our TV Jews is it's good for your health. Like a lot of them are dying late 90s, some of them in their hundreds.
I will say, you know what's good for your health is having access to good health care and living in California.
It's true. Yeah, Angela Lansbury just truly one of the like great treasures, I think, of acting. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Complete Nepo baby. Her father was like a tycoon and her mother was a successful West End actress.
Yes. We can get to the controversy section. Not a ton of controversy with Murder, She Wrote.
There's going to be some controversy in the best of that is a bummer in the best one that I learned. One of the actors has a bummer of a controversy.
All right, well, we'll get to that. The controversy section of the show in general. Not much. The question, though, is Murder, She Wrote propaganda?
No, because the cops are wrong and this is my pitch. This is why I wrote Unlicensed, which is about an unlicensed private detective. People like mystery solving shows. And the only way TV seems to want to do that is to bring in cops. But cops don't actually solve mysteries. Cops don't do anything. They're parasites.
Jessica Fletcher solves mysteries.
So yeah, bring back more private detective shows. And yes, I know people will be like, in the real world, private detectives are mostly used to like break strikes and do stuff like that. However, you can do fun stuff like this where it's like a murder mystery writer who just happens to like on the side do it as an amateur. You can find he's a insurance investigator who used to be a jewel thief. There's ways to do it in a fun way that gives us the murder mystery solving we want without it being propaganda. Bring back more things like Murder, She Wrote.
The second controversy, it's not really a controversy, it's just like an interesting thing that I want to talk about with television. We have talked about this on Thursday nights with Must See TV. However, we have not talked about how important time slot and day of the week is to popularity of a show.
Or was. I don't know if it still is.
It no longer is because we're streaming. We can watch anything anytime. So there's no, like, we really have appointment television. It's not if you miss it, you missed it. So this was Murder, She Wrote was a Sunday night mainstay. It did incredibly well. It never was number one. It got to, I believe, number 4 in the ratings in its third season. But at that time, 25 million people were tuning in on Sunday nights to watch this. They decided for the 12th season, they're like, let's move it. Let's move it up against, this is on CBS. They're like, let's move it up against Thursday nights Must See TV against this new show called Friends and see how it does. And it got obliterated. Everyone was watching the Must See TV and it absolutely ate Murder, She Wrote's lunch. So much so that they moved it back to Sunday nights mid-season and then decided to not bring it back for a 13th season. So it was like sort of a suicide by CBS of this show.
It's such a common thing, the like moving a show around. A lot of times what they'll do to some shows is they'll move it like multiple times within a season, which leaves audiences with no idea when it's on. Like they can't keep track of if it's the third time you've moved the time slot. And then of course no one's watching it because they don't know when it's on and then it gets canceled. I feel like that's a common story. This is such an obvious Sunday show. Like I can't think of a more Sunday show. This is not a Thursday night must-see TV show. It has minute-long establishing shots. It's kind of boring in a good way. It's a classic like Sunday relaxer.
Also, like the Friends fuck guys. The Friends are young and they're hot and they're dating. And Jessica Fletcher is old and hot and not dating. So
yeah, I mean, by season 12, she had to have been probably 70 or getting to 70.
She's hot forever, though, which we'll talk about in the best episode. No, the middleest episode.
The middleest episode was a lot about fucking.
Yeah, stay tuned for it's worth joining the Patreon just to hear us talk about Jessica Fletcher.
A young hot guy trying to get in her pants.
Sex object. Okay.
All right, let's get to some ads, and then we'll get to our intermission. Welcome back from our ads. Let's do our intermission, which is how is that theme song?
I can't say I paid much attention to the theme song.
You didn't pay. Oh, it's so good. I mean, I couldn't hum it, obviously.
I couldn't hum it, but I did not find it inoffensive. But the one thing that I really like about this show that's not related to the theme song, which we will talk about the theme song in a second, is that they do a like tonight on Murder, She Wrote, and they give you like little snippets of the episode of what it's going to be. And I think that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, and we're not talking about like in the opening credits. We're talking like before the they start the episode. They'll be like, tonight on, and then they'll just straight up give you like a preview, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of like, he's been murdered. I didn't do it. Did you do it? It's good. The actual credit sequence is nice. It's like her. It starts out with her like writing, because she's a murder mystery detective. She's writing on her typewriter, and then also doing like old lady who lives in Maine activities. She's riding on her bike in a cardigan. She's taking runs in a hoodie. She's waving at people in sailboats, but then we like move to her solving crimes at the second half, because it's like she does old lady stuff and she solves crimes. And in at least one episode, she fucks. I think this is listen, I can't hum it. I have a great fondness for this theme song. I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay, cool.
What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it I didn't pay too much attention to it, so I'm going to put it right in the middle.
A 5. All right. It was composed by John Mervyn Addison, British, born in 1920. Now, he is maybe, like, this is one of maybe the only TV theme songs we will be considering that was written by somebody who was a tank officer in the Battle of Normandy. He was, like, in the thick of it in World War II fighting. After the war, he taught composition at the Royal College of Music, did a ton of film scores, won an Academy Award for the 1963 movie Tom Jones, won an Emmy for his music work on the pilot of Murder, She Wrote. He also did one movie for Hitchcock, the 1966 movie Torn Curtain, which I've never heard of. But yeah, kind of classic composer who, this is kind of this upbeat, cheery thing. And I do think that's sort of what he was known for. I read some quotes on his Wikipedia where he was like, yeah, I got my thing. I'm good at it. I'm not going to stretch myself too much. This is kind of what I do. Let's get to that best episode.
Yep. All right. So digging into our best episode, which comes from season 1, episode 18, Murder Takes the Bus.
This is a direct riff on Murder on the Orient Express, except for it's a like shitty main bus instead of the Orient Express.
Yes. So Jessica Fletcher and the sheriff are supposed to go to a sheriff's conference where Jessica is one of the speakers. But the sheriff's car breaks down, so they have to take the bus. So they get tickets to the bus, and they get on the bus to go to the sheriff's conference, and murder ensues.
Well, there's a lot of suspicious. Everyone's very suspicious. There's also, I guess, Jessica takes this bus enough that she's like, "You're not the usual bus driver," and he's like, "No, the usual guy was sick."
Listen, she's Jessica Fletcher. She's in demand. The bus goes to Boston. I'm sure that woman's going to Boston often to speak at conferences, to do book signings, to maybe meet with her editorial staff. Yeah. So Jessica Fletcher is a woman of the world, and she takes the bus sometimes.
She takes the bus. And then there's like a suspicious couple. One of the woman is played by Linda Blair of The Exorcist. Great to see her acting as an adult after being horribly traumatized by the director of The Exorcist, who is a bad person. If you don't know that story, he was like shooting guns at people and doing
Presumably,
very abusive stuff.
Random Horror has done Exorcism.
Yes, go listen to the Random Horror one, or you can also listen to, there's a podcast called What Went Wrong that gets deep into like what went wrong with different movie productions that I'm sure has done an Exorcist one. There's also, it's very rainy. This like weird suspicious guy gets on like mid route, just like walks out of the rain and gets on the bus. And then another guy is following the bus and like pretty clearly fakes a little car accident so he can be like, dang, I got to get on the bus now. So there's just a lot of suspicious characters happening. And then the bus breaks down at this like little cafe that's the Cozy Corner Cafe, all spelled with K's.
Yeah.
The old 3K cafe.
Which is something that we were told when we were touring to look out for, because it does mean that there is an alignment with the KKK. Or like at least it's signaling a whites only thing when like you see K's where they shouldn't be.
Yeah, especially 3 of them feels pretty blatant.
I don't think that the creators of this show and the location scouts of this show were aware of that.
I'm assuming this was just like a real restaurant that they location shot at.
Yes. But yeah, but I do remember when we were touring, people did tell us to look out for K's where there shouldn't be, especially when there's 3 of them.
And so while there's like a lot of people coming and going, so there's a little bit of like who's in the room when this happens. But Jessica Fletcher goes back to the bus and finds that the guy who got on mid-route suspiciously has been murdered by being stabbed in the neck with a screwdriver.
Or so it seems.
There's a lot of twists. We were talking about, we're like, well, I feel like because the worst one was pretty straightforward, this one's going to be pretty straightforward. But no, there was a lot of twists to it. Everyone was a suspect at different times. They were really having fun with the writing of it.
They got a lot done. there was a lot of different scenes and a lot of different beats for a 48-minute episode of television.
Yeah,
especially with long ass establishing shots. They did not let that get in their way, because there's like the whole thing with the CB radio. There's the he has a gun. There's the he's an insurance guy. There's like so many things going on there.
Yeah, so they pretty quickly figure out that the guy who was murdered just got out of prison, which was why he was just like weirdly by the side of the road in a brand new suit. And he got out of prison because he was part of a bank robbery, I think.
Yes, a bank robbery that went bad and killed a few people. And that the money was never, that two of the perpetrators, one of them got killed, one of them got away, and one of them was him who went to prison, but the money's still missing.
The money's still missing. And so there's some real, like, clearly it had something to do with it. And it does. There's a number of different fake outs. The bus driver, it turns out, is the father of the woman who got killed during the bank robbery. And he is the one, he admits to stabbing the guy in the neck. But Jessica Fletcher figures out that the guy was already dead when he was stabbed. He had been actually killed by strangling. And so while the bus driver thought he was killing the guy, he was not actually the murderer.
Which is kind of nice, because you're like, this is just a guy who's trying to avenge his daughter's death, and it's really sad for him. And he's like this adorable, the man from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah, he's
dad.
the father from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
And you're like, so you kind of feel good that like he didn't actually kill him, but like he still felt like he was avenging his daughter's death. So that feels good for a minute. But then
there's so many other suspects. There's the math professor who disappeared, and he's like, well, I was playing video games. People heard me, except for Jessica Fletcher figures out that you can just turn on the arcade and it'll make video game sounds whether you're there or not. There's Rue McClanahan as the math professor's wife.
The head librarian.
The head librarian of the university, who steals the dead man's book, but it turns out it's just because it's a pretty valuable first edition book. And she was just trying to, I guess, steal it to sell, because librarians are not paid enough.
It's worth over $2,000.
Yeah, and $2,000 in 1984.
Yeah.
There is a guy who says he's a sea captain. Before that, there is the guy who is strapped.
Yeah.
Who says he's strapped because he is a jewel salesman, but they figure out that he's not a jewel salesman. He is yet again an insurance investigator, and he's there to try to see if he can follow the guy to the money.
Yeah, he works for the bank. He's an insurance investigator for the bank who had lost that $200,000 that was never recovered. So, and then there is Linda Blair's husband, who is the son of the other perpetrator of the crime who got killed during the bank robbery.
And who was seen by Jessica Fletcher arguing with the victim in the bus.
Yeah.
But it turns out he confronted the guy because he wanted the money. He was like, you destroyed my life and my dad's life. I want the money. And then he was like, it turns out this guy was such a like shitty little dude that I'm like, what am I doing? This sucks. I don't want to be involved in this. And I walked away. And
so there's in the dark, there is a scuffle where the strapped guy who's trying to get the CB radio working gets shot, gets grazed on his arm. And so the gun goes missing. So Angela Lansbury bandages him back together, but gets help from the sea captain.
Yeah, there's also a sea captain who's like real, like dressed as a sea captain going like yar. He is like a very...
Yes, it is revealed later that he is not in fact a sea captain, but he is the third member of the crime trio.
Well, Jessica figures it out in the most Encyclopedia Brown ass
because
way.
The sea captain helps put the bandage on him, and he uses a knot that Jessica Fletcher's like, you wouldn't use that knot if you were an actual sea captain. You'd use this knot. Which
it's so Encyclopedia Brown.
So adorable. Just
so yeah, he reveals he was the third perpetrator, and he's the one who stole the gun and shot the insurance guy because he came to try to force the guy to give him the money, but he says that by the time he got out there, the guy was already dead.
Also, it turns out the bus stops at this restaurant because the bus is broken down. But it turns out that the bus is not really broken down, but the bus driver pulled the damper on the bus, which means that the bus has to stop in order to get the damper loose. You have to get in the engine compartment and finagle a bagel to get it going again. So because of that, that's where they discover that it would be him that had the screwdriver, and then that also his hands would be dirty. And then so it is discovered that, yes, he stabbed him with the screwdriver, but also he was the one who strangled him.
Yeah, he strangled him earlier and then came back and stabbed him with the screw. I forget what it is. Somebody, I think, saw him there was something where he realized he was going to get caught. And so he stabbed him so that he figured if he confessed to one form of killing him that turned out to be not the way he was killed, no one would suspect him of also being the original killer.
And guys, this is the best episode of Murder, She Wrote.
It's a good episode.
There's
a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Twas a dark and stormy night. I thought it was a fun riff on Murder on the Orient Express. I thought that the guest star performances by everyone, from Linda Blair to Rue McClanahan to Tom Bosley, were excellent. Yeah, I really dug it, and I was happy to have watched it. Now, Joseph, tell me what the bad is.
Oh, okay. So Albert Salmi, who is the guy who played the fake sea captain, actual bank robber,
Okay.
who shot someone in this episode. Foreshadowing. Albert Salmi, he retired pretty much right after this and moved to Spokane with his wife to retire. Then he and his wife separated. He moved to like Idaho. She stayed in Spokane. And then she started telling the police that she was afraid for her life. The police, of course, didn't do shit. And then Albert Salmi shot her and then shot himself in a murder-suicide in their former kitchen. So the guy who shot someone in this episode did, in fact, end up murdering someone with a gun.
Cool.
And that's the bummer.
Gun violence, guys.
He was fine in this episode. He did not stand out to me.
Yeah.
Going back to the less depressing best episode of Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher just disturbs the shit out of this crime scene. She like straight up pulls the screwdriver out of the dude and is like waving it, letting everyone touch it.
They're all just touching it.
It's just because the whole thing is there's like such a bad rainstorm, the cops can't get there. But like by the time they got there, they've like moved the body around. They've all touched the murder weapon. But
they've also solved it.
They have also solved it. And so, yeah, when the cops show up, they can just arrest the bus driver. Yeah, this is a fun episode.
And hopefully arrest the sea captain.
Yeah, who shot someone.
And also was perpetrated that crime.
It's true, who got away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully they got him too.
And then they also have the key to the safety deposit box where the $200,000 is.
Oh, that's right. So that's why he had this like weird first edition book that he had clearly saved from before he went to prison. And it's because he had hidden the key to the safety deposit box in the binding of it. This episode was written by Michael Sheff and Mary Ann Kasika, who were married co-writers. Michael Sheff got his start in 1974 with an uncredited writing job on a TV movie called Skyway to Death, about an aerial tramway that breaks down 8,500 feet in the air. He followed that with 1977's Airport 77, about a hijacked 747 that crashes into the ocean, trapping everyone 100 feet below the water. So he was really specializing in thrillers where people were at the wrong altitude. He was married to his co-writer on this episode. She got started as an actress. She played a nurse in a 1974 TV movie starring Sally Struthers called Aloha Means Goodbye, about a young woman with a rare blood disease fighting a greedy doctor who wants her to die so he can use her heart in a transplant, which is an insane storyline. Then she started writing with her husband Michael on a TV movie called Topper, about a recently deceased couple trying to get into heaven, which starred Rue McClanahan, by the way. They wrote together for 16 years. They ended with, of course, like all of these people, Murder, She Wrote, although technically they did one more thing, which was a mid-90s TV movie called Tall, Dark, and Deadly. So that's who wrote it. It was directed by Walter Grauman, yet another behind-the-scenes contributor who fought in World War II. He flew 56 combat missions over Europe. Then he moved to LA and got a job as a stage manager at NBC. Then he got to start directing with the 1957 movie, The Disembodied. That's plot summary is an expedition in the jungle runs afoul of a voodoo cult. So that was probably fine, not racist. He directed regularly since then, including The Twilight Zone, The Fugitive, Trapper John, which is a MASH spinoff. I knew the name Trapper John. I didn't realize it was a MASH spinoff. And then, of course, his last job, 53 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. He is related in some completely unspecified way to Sid Grauman of Grauman's Chinese Theater. But I could not find how he is related. And that is the team behind this, the best Murder, She Wrote. Having watched these two episodes, how do you feel about, we talked about this, but how do you feel about Murder, She Wrote?
I love it. Loved it.
Would you want to keep watching Murder, She Wrote?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I enjoyed these. They are really slow. And so I was like, I don't know if I would have the patience to like keep binging it.
I'm not saying like right now, babe, we need to every night watch an episode of Murder, She Wrote till we get through all 200 bajillion of them. No. What I'm saying is that I would happily watch an episode on a rainy Saturday. Should I ever have a free rainy Saturday afternoon here in Southern California with my 5-year-old who has lots of activities, I would love to watch an episode or two of Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, go through some of the high-rated ones maybe.
Yeah.
There's one where she's a forewoman on a jury that I bet is fun.
Oh gosh, who would pick her for a jury?
There is recently Clint Eastwood made again talking about insane plot decisions. There's a movie about a juror who he gets put on a jury and then figures out he didn't realize this. This is the thing that makes it insane. He figures out mid-trial that he is the culprit. It's like a hit and run situation that he didn't know he did. And so he like figures out halfway through that he's the culprit and has to decide whether to like try to sway the jury to convict an innocent man or come forward and confess. Insane plot. Fun movie.
Great idea.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I would maybe watch a few more of the top rated. I don't know. This is not a binger for me, for sure.
It's definitely not a binger for me, but I had a really good time watching it. I found myself refreshed by seeing a postmenopausal female lead just anchoring the shit out of a show, and it being about a woman who is smart and who is listened to and who is like not dismissed and who is an expert and curious and not a sex object until we get to the middle list, guys. Hang tight.
Jessica Fletcher. Fucks.
So I found myself really refreshed by it, and just we love an unlikely detective. I mean, we watched a Poker Face is sort of like a little sort of Columbo Murder, She Wrote-ish sort of thing. I think we enjoyed the first season. I don't think we continued to watch it.
No, once Rian Johnson became less involved and it became more of a Natasha Lyonne project, I think she's a great actress and a bad writer. And the second season was, to me, a little rough. So we fell off after a few episodes.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get back to it. But we love an unlikely detective. You know, we've tried a number of times to make an unlikely detective show for television.
Yeah, if you are listening to this and have never listened to Unlicensed, our Audible original, which I think is now also available non-legally on like various podcast things that it's not my job to track down. So whatever you do there, go with God. But Unlicensed is probably my favorite thing I've ever worked on. I love Unlicensed. If I could do anything and not have to worry about money, I would just write and make Unlicensed for the rest of my life. I loved making that show. So please go listen to our mystery show, Unlicensed, that we really took quite seriously. We were like, we're not going to try. I don't want to write something that is good for people who don't write mysteries. I want to write something that stands up there with like great mystery writing. And we really tried our best at that.
Yeah.
So our next show, we wanted to avoid any controversy, do something a little easy. So what are we doing?
We're going to do the Cosby Show.
Oh, guys, we're doing the Cosby Show.
It's either that or Girls.
It just felt like, I don't know, maybe it's time to look at this head on.
Well, I think we talk about the Cosby Show a lot when we're talking about that specific era of television, and we talk about it historically a lot, but we nuts and bolts have not watched the Ding Dang Thing because, you know, Bill Cosby is a rapist. So I can say that, right? That's been adjudicated.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can say that. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it has been shown in like a number of lawsuits, if nothing else.
Cool. So I guess I'll find out when I do more of a deep dive if I can say legally whether this man is a rapist or not. Let's say for now,
he sure seems like it.
Based on the reporting that I've seen to date, seems like this guy is drugging and raping women.
Anyway, thank you so much. Check out our Patreon-only show, The Middle List, where we will be discussing the exact middle list rated episode to see what the show looks like when everything is exactly average. That episode is going to be Season 1, Episode 5, or possibly 7. It's a little unclear. Lovers and Other Killers, in which Jessica Fletcher fucks. See you later.
You can't say that.
What?
That's a lie.
That's true. She doesn't.
Slander.
And she doesn't.
It's
I would never say
defamation.
Jessica Fletcher fucks, despite me having
Not in
said
that.
it three times.
She might have during the show, but not in this episode. But it's not for lack of desire on the part of a young man.